You start fasting, and that quiet worry creeps in. Is this going to eat away my muscle? It's a common fear, and it stops a lot of people from trying something that could really help. The scale drops fast in the first few days, 5, 6 pounds gone, and you think, that's great, but is it fat or something else? Your mind jumps to muscle, because that's what the internet gurus warn about. Today we are going to answer that question clearly. Does fasting actually burn your muscle? And the real answer might surprise you, because almost everything you've heard is wrong. Here's the short answer first. No, fasting does not burn your muscle. It's not even close. Your body has a very clear priority system. It goes after stored sugar and fat long before it touches functional tissue like muscle. Take Margaret, 68 years old. She heard fasting could help her joints and blood sugar, but she was terrified it would weaken her legs. She didn't want to end up struggling to climb stairs. That fear is real, and it's understandable. If understanding what's actually happening inside your body, without the fear and the hype, is valuable to you, then consider subscribing. We explain the real science, plain and simple, so you can make informed choices. Here's the key distinction that changes everything. What you eat and how much muscle you build are two completely separate processes. They barely interact at all. Eating builds fuel stores, exercise builds muscle. Yet most people assume the opposite. They think eating protein automatically builds muscle, and not eating means muscle loss. But your body doesn't work that way. It's a common misunderstanding, and it's costing people real health benefits. Here's the part almost nobody explains clearly. Your body is constantly breaking down and recycling its own proteins. When you fast, it doesn't panic and start tearing down muscle. It has a smart, efficient system for reusing those amino acids. When you eat, your body stores the extra energy in two forms: sugar, called glycogen, and fat. When you're not eating, during fasting, it simply takes those stored calories back out. It draws from the sugar first, then the fat. It never touches the protein, because that's your functional tissue. When you stop eating, your body simply reverses the process. It pulls energy back out from those storage depots, first from the sugar reserves, then from the fat. Now notice what's missing from that list of storage forms. Protein. Your body does not store extra protein the way it stores sugar or fat. Protein isn't stockpiled as backup fuel. It's not sitting in a warehouse waiting to be burned. It has a completely different role in your body. Protein is functional tissue. It's busy doing real jobs, building enzymes, supporting your immune system, repairing cells, and keeping your organs working. It's not a fuel depot. So if protein isn't stored as fuel, where does muscle actually come from? It's a fair question, and the answer might surprise you. Exercise, not eating, is what builds muscle. Your body doesn't grow muscle from food alone. It grows muscle in response to demand, to work, to resistance. If eating alone could build muscle, everyone would look like Superman. But that's not how it works. The signal to grow muscle comes from movement, not from the dinner plate. So why do so many people believe that fasting shrinks muscle? It's a widespread fear, and it sounds logical on the surface. But the real reason is a measurement problem. Part of the answer lies in how muscle gets measured. Most home scales and body fat monitors don't actually measure muscle directly. They estimate it based on assumptions about water content. And that measurement problem has fooled plenty of smart people. When you fast, you lose water weight. The machine sees less water and calls it muscle loss. But it's not muscle at all. Margaret, 68, stepped on her bathroom scale after a week of fasting. The number had dropped, but so had her hope. She nearly quit right there, convinced her body was eating its own muscle. She assumed that number told the whole story, like a report card for her body. Less weight must mean less muscle, she thought. It's the same mistake most of us make. But here's the thing. Scales don't measure muscle, they measure total weight, which includes water, food, bone, and fat. And when you fast, your body loses water first, not muscle. Muscle itself is about 76% water by weight. That's 3/4 of every pound of muscle you think you're losing. When you fast, your body releases that stored water. It's not eating muscle. This single fact changes everything. That 5 pounds of muscle loss you see on a home scale, it's mostly water. Once you eat again, that number bounces right back, because the water returns, not because you rebuilt muscle overnight. But there's another number that trips people up: protein. How much do you actually need each day? Most of us have been told the answer is a lot more than it really is. Your body turns over about 210 grams of protein every day, breaking down old cells and recycling them, but only about 6 to 8 grams are actually lost through nails, hair, and gut lining. That's it. To replace that tiny loss, you need about 30 to 40 grams of dietary protein per day. But the average American eats 80 to 100 grams, 2 to 3 times what's necessary. Your body doesn't need that much. So why do protein ads push you to eat more? Because most of that extra protein, about 70 to 80%, gets turned into sugar, not muscle. Companies know you want to believe eating protein builds muscle, but it doesn't work that way. Instead of trusting the scale, researchers tested real strength during a 10-day fast. Grip strength didn't change. Leg strength actually went up by about 30%. That's not muscle loss, that's your body working better. Researchers in Germany measured grip strength in people doing a 10-day fast, not a water-only fast, but very low calorie. They tested before, during, and after. What about leg strength? They tested that too. And here is where it gets interesting. Leg strength actually went up during the fast, not down. They even timed how fast people could climb 40 steps. That measures real functional strength, the kind you need to get up and down stairs. No change during the fast. Now, let's talk about something that worries people most when they consider fasting: hunger. You might think it just keeps getting worse. But the study measured hunger daily. Over the first 5 days, hunger actually dropped steadily, then returned to normal when eating resumed. Not what most expect. There is a 2024 study called Interfast MI that looked at something even more important: heart muscle. They studied people who had a serious heart attack. Half of the group did a short fast after their heart attack. The other half did not. Researchers then compared how well their hearts recovered. The results? The fasting group showed significantly better improvement in heart function. The heart muscle was not harmed. It actually got stronger. None of this means everyone should rush out and start fasting. There are people who should not fast at all: pregnant women, people with certain medical conditions. This video is for educational purposes only. It is not medical advice. Always talk to your own doctor before making any changes to your diet or lifestyle. Always check with your own doctor before changing how you eat, especially if you take medication or have a chronic condition. But understanding the mechanism can ease a common, needless worry: the fear that fasting will eat away your hard-earned muscle. So let's start with the biggest myth: fasting equals muscle loss. It's repeated so often that many people accept it without a second thought. And there's one measurement trick that's been misleading people for years. It makes water loss look exactly like muscle loss on a scanner. We'll explain exactly what it is and why it matters. But first, let's lay the foundation for what's actually happening inside your body during a fast. First, picture your body as having two separate energy accounts. Think of them like a checking account and a savings account at a bank. One account holds sugar, stored as glycogen in your liver and muscles. It's your quick access cash, ready to use within minutes. The other account holds fat, your body's long-term reserve. It's your savings, designed to last for days or even weeks without eating. Every meal adds deposits into one or both of these accounts. Your body decides where to store the incoming energy based on your current needs. Fasting simply means withdrawing from those same two accounts. First, the checking account of glycogen, then the savings account of body fat. Protein sits in a completely different biological account: structure and function, not fuel. Think of protein as the walls and wiring of a house. You need them to stand, not to burn. You don't tear down the walls to power the lights. Your body doesn't tear down muscle for energy. Proteins are built from smaller pieces called amino acids. Think of them as individual Lego bricks. Your body reuses a small amount of those amino acids for repair work, replacing worn-out cells. The rest of the protein you eat gets converted into sugar for energy, or occasionally into fat for storage. So eating protein does not directly deposit into your muscle account. It's not a shortcut to strength. Muscle is built through the stress and signal of exercise, a physical demand that says reinforce here. That signal tells the body to reinforce and grow tissue. Without it, the protein has no instructions. Eating extra protein without exercise has nowhere useful to go. It ends up as sugar or stored fat. Now, this doesn't mean protein has no place in your daily diet. It absolutely does. Protein can help you feel full longer, which is one reason it supports weight control for many people. But during fasting itself, your body's protein needs actually shrink because you're not digesting food. Here's why. Your body is constantly recycling its own proteins, like a factory that reuses its spare parts. Roughly 210 grams of protein turn over in your body every single day. That's a lot of recycling. That's your cells constantly breaking down old structures and building new ones from the same materials. Most of those amino acids, the building blocks, get captured and reused internally, not wasted. Only a very small amount of protein truly leaves your body each day, mostly through normal wear and tear. That small loss shows up mainly in things like your fingernails, your hair, and the lining of your gut. The total amount lost daily is only about 6 to 8 grams, roughly the weight of 2 sugar packets. Picture 2 small sugar packets from a diner. That's roughly the weight of the actual protein your body loses in a day. To replace that tiny loss, your body needs only about 30 to 40 grams of dietary protein each day. Yet the average person in the United States eats closer to 80 to 100 grams of protein every single day. That's roughly 3 times more protein than the human body actually requires for its basic needs. So where does all that extra protein actually go? It doesn't just disappear, your body has to do something with it. 19 out of the 20 amino acids, the building blocks of protein, can be converted directly into sugar by the liver. Researchers tested this using something called isotope dilution studies, a way to trace exactly where the protein ends up. They gave healthy men a completely normal diet and then tracked every gram of protein to see what the body did with it. They measured deamination, a process where the liver removes the nitrogen from amino acids, releasing the carbon skeleton to be turned into glucose. In that study, about 68% of the ingested protein ended up as glucose, not muscle. Your body is smarter than you think. A more recent study using isotope tracing found an even higher number, 79% of ingested protein converted to glucose. So most extra protein becomes fuel, not building material. Your body treats it like any other calorie source. Yet plenty of longevity influencers keep pushing more protein always. They say 2 grams per kilogram or more, but the science doesn't support that. Some people get pulled into buying protein powders because of this. They think more protein means more muscle, but it doesn't work that way. The official recommended daily allowance is 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight. That's the government's standard for what most people need. Most Americans already eat 1.2 to 1.5 grams per kilogram. That's 50 to 90% more than the minimum. Some longevity advocates suggest 2 grams or more per kilogram. That recommendation is more than double the official RDA. That's far beyond what the body can actually put to use. The excess gets converted to sugar or stored as fat, just like any surplus calorie. Now here's the part that fools even careful trackers. The way we measure muscle loss during fasting is deeply flawed. Muscle tissue is made up of about 76% water by weight, so any water loss looks like muscle loss on most scans. So any shift in your body's water balance shows up on these scans as a change in muscle mass, even when no muscle was lost. This includes the water stored alongside sugar in your muscles, called intracellular glycogen, which holds about 3 grams of water for every gram of glycogen. One common tool used to measure body fat is bioelectrical impedance analysis, or BIA for short. It's the same technology found in many bathroom body fat scales you can buy at the store. BIA works by sending a tiny harmless electrical pulse through your body. Electricity travels more easily through water and lean tissue and meets more resistance when it passes through fat. But here's the flaw. To the device, water and lean tissue look exactly the same, so if you lose body water, like during a fast, the scale mistakenly counts that loss as lost muscle. That's because the calculation inside the scale assumes your body's water percentage never changes, but it does, all the time. The other common method is a DEXA scan, which uses 2 low-dose X-ray beams and is often seen as more precise. The second way clinics measure body composition is called a DEXA scan. DEXA stands for Dual Energy X-ray Absorptiometry. It sounds high-tech, and it is more detailed than the electrical scale. Instead of just one number, a DEXA scan tries to estimate 5 different types of tissue separately: water, protein, bone mineral, carbohydrate, and fat. Here is how the DEXA machine calculates your body fat percentage. It takes your total body weight, then subtracts the weight of water, protein, bone, and carbohydrate. Whatever is left is called fat. The problem is clear. If your body water drops, the machine subtracts less water from the total. That makes the leftover number bigger, which the machine reads as lost lean mass, not lost water. Again, the DEXA calculation wrongly assumes your bone and carbohydrate levels stay completely fixed. But during fasting, your carbohydrate stores drop. The machine cannot tell the difference. This is exactly what shows up in real clinical cases. When patients start fasting and get a DEXA scan, the numbers often look alarming. But the alarm is a measurement error, not a true loss. People start their fast, feel great, then go for a scan. They are shocked and horrified to see their lean mass has dropped by several pounds. They think they are losing muscle. Some people report losing 5 pounds of what looks like muscle in a single day. They panic, thinking fasting is destroying their body. But the math does not add up. Think about it. No one loses 5 pounds of real muscle tissue overnight. That would require your body to break down a massive amount of protein, which it simply does not do that fast. Here is the proof. When those same people stop fasting and eat normally again, their lean mass number rises right back up. The muscle was never gone. It was just water. That rapid bounce back in weight after refeeding is water returning to your tissues, not muscle regrowing overnight. The scale can't tell the difference. So how do you actually know if you're losing muscle? The common scales and scans can't give you the real answer because they confuse water with lean tissue. The real test is strength. If your grip strength stays the same, your muscle is intact. If your legs can still carry you upstairs, you haven't lost muscle. One study offers the clearest picture we have on this. It measured actual strength, not just weight, during a prolonged fast. Researchers ran a 10-day fast with about 200 calories daily. That's not a water-only fast, but it's close. A very low-calorie intake for over a week. It took place at the Buchinger Wilhelmi Clinic in Germany, a well-known fasting clinic with decades of experience. This wasn't a casual experiment. As expected, body weight and waist size both came down during the fast. That's the predictable result of reducing calorie intake for 10 days. After refeeding, some weight returned, though not all of it. That's the water coming back, and a bit of the fat and glycogen stores being replenished. By 3 months, much of the weight had crept back on. That's not a failure of fasting. It's what happens when you return to your old eating patterns without a plan. That's simply what happens without a follow-up eating plan. The fast itself works, but lasting change requires a sustainable approach after the fast ends. But the real story is what happened to actual physical strength, not the numbers on a scale or body composition scan. Researchers tracked maximal grip strength across the entire 10 days of the fast using a standard hand dynamometer. From baseline to day 5 to day 10, nothing changed at all. Grip strength remained exactly the same throughout the fast. Most people fast for far shorter periods than 10 full days, so if strength doesn't drop over 10 days, shorter fasts are even less concerning. Next came leg strength, tested before and during the fast using standard leg press and extension equipment. Leg strength actually rose by about 30% during fasting, which surprised even the researchers. Leg muscle power rose significantly higher too, not lower. The muscles were generating more force, not less. Researchers don't think new muscle grew that quickly. Gaining actual muscle tissue takes weeks of consistent training. It's more likely tied to hormonal shifts, including increased sympathetic nervous system tone, which primes muscles for action. That heightened tone can make existing muscles perform more efficiently, like a car engine that suddenly runs smoother on the same fuel. Either way, the results are the opposite of the catastrophic muscle loss the internet gurus warn about. A third test in the study timed how fast people could climb 40 steps. Climbing stairs takes real muscular strength, not just willpower. Across the 10 fasting days, the time it took to climb 40 steps barely changed. During refeeding, when people started eating again, their climbing times actually got noticeably better. By day 3 of refeeding, their climbing performance beat their original baseline. Being slightly lighter after the fast may have helped a little too, but the key point is no muscle was lost. Taken together, these 3 tests, grip strength, leg strength, and stair climbing, show no sign of muscle loss during a 10-day fast. The same study also tracked hunger levels every single day of the fast. Most people expect hunger to climb higher the longer they go without food, but the data surprised everyone. But here's what surprised the researchers most. Hunger didn't spike. Over the first 5 days, it dropped significantly. Hunger only returned to baseline once normal eating resumed, not during the fast itself. There's one more organ worth mentioning, the heart muscle itself. A 2024 study followed patients recovering from a major heart attack. One group fasted, the other followed standard post-attack care. The fasting group showed notably better recovery in heart function. Their heart muscle wasn't broken down by the fasting process. This is general education only, not personal medical advice. Always talk with your own doctor before changing how you eat. So no, fasting isn't quietly stealing your muscle, it's protecting it.